These creepy creatures were spotted by the police and caught on camera. When people face danger, their first instinct is to call the police for help. This exact situation happened in a Russian village, where the police witnessed a poltergeist with their own eyes. Today, I'm going to tell you about this and other chilling cases where the police caught a real ghost on camera. Are you ready to get your nerves tingling? Alright, let's go! On October 17, 1973, in the small town of Falk Hill, Alabama, an event occurred that would later become a legend in ufology circles. USA. An event occurred that later became a legend in ufology circles. The local police chief, Jeff Greenhaw, received an urgent call from an unknown woman, reporting that she had seen an unidentified flying object near the town. Although Greenhaw had never encountered situations like this before, he decided to check out the information. Arriving at Farmer Bobby Summerford's field, Greenhaw began to inspect the area, but at first he didn't find anything unusual. Just as he was about to leave the scene, he decided to do one last sweep. That's when he stumbled upon something amazing. According to Greenhaw, he saw a humanoid figure standing by the road about 66 feet from his car. As he got closer, he could make out the creature in a metallic suit that looked like shiny aluminum foil. Greenhaw's Polaroid photographs soon attracted the attention of researchers into anomalous phenomena. The figure appeared disproportionate, as if a child or a monkey were dressed in a strange outfit, and Greenhaw was especially struck by the creature's costume. He described it as shiny and smooth, capable of changing color depending on the angle of view. Trying to talk to the alien Greenhaw, he did not hear a response. Instead, he noticed an antenna sticking out from the top of the suit and realized that the creature's movements were mechanized. Excited and scared, Greenhaw took several pictures until the alien suddenly bolted across the field at an incredible speed. Excited. Frightened, Greenhaw took several shots until the alien suddenly bolted across the field at an incredible speed. The police were convinced that it could not have been an ordinary person. After all, no one can run that fast. The story of Jeff Greenhaw has become widely known in the UFO community. Many experts believe that he witnessed an encounter with an extraterrestrial being. The question of the existence of extraterrestrial life and UFOs remains open and continues to stir the imagination of both scientists and everyday people. Many researchers are convinced that humanity is not alone in the universe, and it's possible that representatives of other civilizations have already visited our planet, or even made contact with us. What do you think? During an evening patrol in the city of Monterrey, Mexico, another mysterious incident occurred. While driving around the area, the officer noticed a large creature with wings jumping between the trees. So he decided to stop and find out what was going on. Suddenly, the winged creature turned towards him and landed on the road. The police officer later told reporters that the creature was wearing a dark cloak, and it looked like a woman with huge wings. Behind you. But the creepiest part were her eyes. Absolutely black, without eyelashes, with some kind of mesmerizing gaze that made the officer feel creeped out. Then the monster jumped onto the hood of the car, trying to get inside. The officer managed to call for backup and tried to run away, but he lost consciousness along the way. Other police officers who arrived in response to the call found their colleague unharmed, but at first they dismissed his story as nonsense. They insisted on taking the tests, but their doubts were dispelled when deep claw marks were noticed on the car. Later, 2 more witnesses saw the creature. What it was or who it was remains unknown. Just like they couldn't figure out the cause of the poltergeist that terrorized an entire police department. This mystical case happened in Russia. In the Kolpashovsky district of the Tomsk region, law enforcement officers had to reach out for support from church representatives after encountering unexplained events in one of the houses they were called to. The incident happened in the village of Maraksa. According to a report sent to the head of the main department of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Alexander Budnik, from the police department in the Kolpashovsky district, a couple's wife and their 15-year-old adopted son reported unusual occurrences in their home. The family complained that all the objects were moving around the house on their own. When police arrived at the scene, they found complete chaos inside the house. Furniture was overturned, personal belongings were scattered everywhere, and the kitchen wall had been pierced with a knife. The couple claimed that similar events had been happening for 2 days in a row. The most amazing thing is that even in the presence of the police, the objects continued to move on their own. A wardrobe fell over, a stick flew in from the next room, and books jumped off the shelves. Unable to find a logical explanation for what was happening, the police decided to invite a priest to perform a cleansing ritual. The secretary of the Kulpashevo Diocese and Novels, Simeon Koinov, confirmed that all the stated facts are true. The representatives of the clergy performed a blessing ceremony in the house and even stayed there overnight. Everything stated in the police report corresponds to what actually happened, Romana said. We received calls simultaneously from both the teenagers' parents and law enforcement representatives. One of our ministers visited this house. He had a conversation with the family and said a prayer. However, despite the temporary lull after the priest visited the house, strange phenomena resumed. We intend to continue working with this family and take all possible measures to prevent similar incidents from occurring. I don't know about you, but to me, this is some real devilry. It was so intense that even the sacred ritual performed didn't help. On the other side of the world, something equally mystical happened. A recent incident in Chile has attracted the attention of local authorities and the press. The police received a report about suspicious events in a residential house in the city of Portimont. Upon arriving at the scene, the officers found broken windows and mattresses thrown outside. As a police sergeant told local media, the squad left for the scene after the residents reported paranormal activity in the house. Despite the initial skepticism, the situation started to look even more mysterious when, right in front of the sergeant's eyes, a spatula suddenly fell from the roof. In addition, the officer stated that during his time in the house, he experienced a strange attack. I tried to summon a demon, asking it to come out to us, and when I was about to leave, I felt a strong blow to my back, the sergeant shared. Fortunately, thanks to his bulletproof vest, he came out unscathed. This mystical case caused a wide resonance among the local population. And it's not surprising, because among the inhabitants of Central and South America, the largest number of people believe in paranormal phenomena. The event in Portimont proves that this belief is not unfounded. The following case occurred in the USA. It will show you that even the police couldn't stand up to the children possessed by evil spirits. The Amans family of Indianapolis, Indiana, the United States, found itself at the center of global attention after a series of reports about cases of possession and exorcisms. Police Captain Charles Austin was initially skeptical of the family members' stories, thinking they might be exaggerating what was happening for public interest. But after visiting their home, his views changed dramatically. The most interesting thing is that not only he, but also Valerie Washington from Child Protective Services and medical worker Willie Walker shared their observations, confirming that the older 9-year-old had demonstrated incredible feats such as walking on walls and ceilings before descending to the floor. Valerie Washington noted in her report that the boy's face had a sinister grin on it. In addition, the report also speaks of a younger, 7-year-old brother who spoke in a low, demonic voice. He rolled his eyes, growled and ground his teeth, and then lost consciousness. In the following story, the police had to deal with a ghost, which they were able to calm down only after turning to a priest. 2 police officers were dispatched to the scene after receiving an alarming call from residents of one of the houses, claiming that a ghost was living nearby. Upon arriving at the specified address, the police witnessed an unusual phenomenon. Around the house that the neighbors pointed out, objects were floating in the air for a completely unknown reason. After discussing the situation with their superiors, they decided not to make the incident public and called in a priest to perform a blessing in the mysterious house. The police's reaction is completely understandable. There seems to be an incident, but at the same time, he's not there. So, there's no one to arrest. The hero of the next story also couldn't arrest anyone, but he managed to photograph a mysterious creature that looked like an alien. Officers at the Shelbyville Police Department in Kentucky, USA, began to notice strange phenomena at their headquarters. At night, they heard doors slamming, floors creaking, and moans in the hallways. The police decided that a ghost had taken up residence in the building and reached out to paranormal specialists for help. A group of experts from Louisville arrived and set up video cameras, audio recording equipment, and infrared temperature sensors in the building. They wanted to capture any temperature fluctuations or other signs of presence. Ghost. However, despite all efforts, the equipment did not detect any suspicious shadows or sounds. "It feels like the ghost is playing hide and seek with us," said team leader Thomas Keynes. "As soon as we turn off the devices, he immediately makes himself known. We turn it on, and it vanishes without a trace." The next story about an invisible ghost is also very similar to this case. An elderly woman called 911 and asked for the police to be sent because she noticed a strange figure hiding in her backyard. The old woman lived alone, so it was completely natural for her to be scared when she noticed a silhouette in the window. The police officers who arrived at the scene found the door unlocked. When they entered the house, they saw their grandmother peering out the window that overlooked the backyard. The police went to check it out, but they found no signs of a break-in or intrusion. Also, nothing was missing from the house or the area around it. In addition, the house was surrounded by a tall fence, making it nearly impossible for anyone to get onto the property. However, the police found some traces inside the house. Maybe the grandmother left the door open and saw the silhouette not from outside through the window, but as a reflection of someone inside the house standing behind her. Who could that be? A random passerby who looked through an open door, or a ghost? I haven't figured it out myself yet, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. And in the next story, the ghost is as real as it gets. The police officers arrived at the house after a call about a strange incident involving one of the residents. They were greeted by a crying woman, around 50 years old, who said that her 20-year-old son refuses to go into his room, claiming that an elderly man hanged himself there. The woman admitted that she is also afraid to go into her son's room because suspicious characters often show up there. And she doesn't know whether to believe her son's words or chalk it up to his imagination. Officers spoke to the young man, who was clearly under the influence substances. He said that the spirit of the girl won't let him enter the room where her father supposedly hanged himself. The guy added that the hangman was wearing an officer's uniform. After checking the room, the officer found no one there. But just as he was about to tell the young man's mother, he was stopped by one of the senior colleagues. The experienced officer reported that he remembered this house and this room. Many years ago, he was involved in investigating a case of intentional self-harm that happened right here. An elderly military man really did hang himself, and it happened in that very room. The details of the event had faded from the senior officer's memory, so the young officer checked the information in the database. All the facts were confirmed. In such a horrifying way, a World War II veteran really did end his life, putting on his military uniform before he died. What was the reason behind such a decision? We'll never know that for sure. And finally, another case of an attack by a mysterious monster in one of the states in the U.S. In the fall of 2015, in South Carolina, USA, the police encountered an unusual case. In the county, the couple, Ada and Leon Marshall, were returning home late at night when they became victims of an attack by an unknown creature. A huge lizard-like monster, about 2 meters tall, with 3 fingers and sharp spikes on its head, jumped out onto the road. Right in front of their car. Leon slammed on the brakes to avoid a collision. However, the creature wasn't in a hurry to disappear. It leaned forward. It carefully examined the passengers and then started tearing apart the car's body with its powerful claws. The couple was seriously scared and immediately reported it to the police. It turns out that the first known case of a monster attack in South Carolina happened back in 1988. In 1988. Year. At that time, the victim was a young man named Christopher Davis. He described that night in detail. I got home from work. When I got out of the car, I noticed that one of the tires was flat. I kicked it a few times to check the wheel. Suddenly, I felt that someone was approaching from behind. I froze in fear as I turned around. A huge monster was approaching me in big leaps. It looked like a giant lizard with glowing eyes. Not remembering myself from fear, I climbed back into the car and immediately felt a powerful hit from behind. I was only able to start the engine a moment later, and by that time, the monster had already climbed onto the roof and was banging its paw on the windshield. Finally, the car started moving. By backing up, I managed to shake the monster off the roof. 2 weeks after this incident, Sheriff Truesdale, who was working on the case, managed to find something at the scene. The monster's paw print was 15 inches long. The track was immediately sent to the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, but they couldn't identify the creature. The department head, John Evans, suggested that it might be some kind of giant, mutated lizard or a creature previously unknown to science. Meanwhile, Sheriff Truesdale conducted a series of interviews with Christopher Davis and examined the evidence. At first, he suspected that the whole story was made up. He later shared his thoughts. At first, I carefully inspected the car. The chrome covering of the wing was torn in half like a toothpick. The antenna was damaged too. Everything was scattered all over the car. While I was there, I suddenly realized that we were very close to some large and dangerous creature hiding in the nearby swamp. I questioned Davis again and again, but he didn't change his story. The guy seemed honest and well-mannered, but I still made him take the test. Lie detector test. The results showed that he was telling the truth. After this incident, several similar attacks on vehicles were reported. Despite extensive searches, U.S. authorities were never able to catch the mysterious creature. Time will tell if the police will be able to cope with this threat. There are so many strange and mystical things happening in life that even police officers, who, due to their job, sometimes encounter the most incredible cases, also begin to get lost. But in my statement, friends, there's nothing mystical or paranormal. You have a unique opportunity to become part of our team. If you have video editing skills, you can voice videos in Russian, English, and other languages. Or do you write interesting scripts? We would be happy to work with you. Message our Telegram bot. The link is in the description. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.